Hello and welcome to another episode of the Daily Chat Podcast, where we talk about all things awesome and nerdy. Ladies and gentlemen, to returning as most of the time, it's Dan Tundis.
What's up?
And today we're continuing our series of the top 5 blank of comic book movies. I think that's safe to say we could call this the top 5 blank of comic book movie series.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my number one blank.
My number one blank. So today we're counting down our top 5 picks for the best sidekicks in movies.
Yes. And this one should go pretty quickly. So this will be like one of those ones that you can listen to on your lunch break. Because I don't know that I got a full hour to talk about sidekicks. Because let's be honest, they're sidekicks. They're not the main features. They're not why.
Exactly.
That's not why we're there. They tried that once with Batman and Robin. And it didn't end well.
For lack of a better term, I think it's safe to say that most of the time nowadays, sidekicks are more like, I guess you could call them plot devices, but I think that's putting them down a little bit. Like, I don't want to be that mean.
A lot of times they are plot devices. Like, they're a reason to, like, move the story along. Mm-hmm. Or they just end up getting, woven into the bigger team. I mean, you could look at the Avengers. Right. And, like, that whole cast. Like, you could make an argument that, half of the Avengers are, could be classified as, like, sidekicks.
Right, and honestly...
At least in origin or, like, original inception.
Yeah.
But, like, now it doesn't really feel fair.
Yeah, so, like, kind of a small spoiler, actually, a good chunk of my list is actually characters from the MCU.
Yeah, see?
Which kind of sucks, but, I mean, at the same time, I'm only really counting them as in movies for, that don't count as, like, the true team-ups, I guess you could call it. You know what I mean? Like, as in the upcoming Infinity War, which obviously we're not going to be reviewing that right now.
But we will.
But we will, yeah. I'm talking like, like Avengers 1 and 2, mainly just because it felt like by the end of it, everyone was on an even field by the end of it.
Right, except for, and that's kind of what I was saying, is that, like, except for the but even, like, Hawkeye. Like, Hawkeye feels like a sidekick. You know what I mean? Like, you could make the argument that Hawkeye is either like Black Widow's sidekick or Thor's sidekick or
Captain America's
sidekick. You know what I mean? Like,
hell, even Ant-Man's sidekick.
I wouldn't say Ant-Man, but Ant-Man at the same time feels both like a sidekick and a superhero.
Right.
Depending on how he's treated and whose movie he appears in.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's a lot of those kinds of characters that I had a hard time like differentiating between, like, is this a team-up? Is this a sidekick? Is this a supporting character? And it's funny because I actually only have one MCU character on my list. Mostly because of that, because I had a really hard time, like, differentiating.
Right. I get what you're saying. Just, for me, it's more like, what role do they serve specifically in this movie? So, for example, like I said before, like, in some of the major team-up movies, like all the Avengers main movies, Age of Ultron, the first one, etc. They definitely feel... It depends on their role in it. So, like, Black Widow might feel like more of a supporting role in, say, Iron Man 2. I mean, a sidekick role in, say, Iron Man 2. But she feels like more of her own character, I guess you could say, in, say, Civil War. Like, more of an actual supporting role.
Right.
So I'm purposefully going movie-specific how they are in this.
So you're going movie-specific, not overall?
Not overall, no.
See, I went overall.
You could do it either way. Like,
okay.
This is our... Like I said, this is like... The whole point of this one is just differences of opinion. So, like, this is a very loosey-goosey show, Dan. Loosey-goosey.
There's no structure here.
There's no structure.
We don't even know what we're doing.
Well, we really don't.
Most of the time, we're not even wearing pants.
We're supposed to wear pants?
I'm not.
Yeah. Think about that one, viewers.
All right. So, anyways,
listeners,
you want to go first?
Sure. I will kick this one off. I am actually going with a fairly recent one, actually. The most recent on the list, probably, with, I'm going with Princess Siri from Black Panther.
Oh, you know what? I was going to include her, and good pick.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going with her because, she's just another Tony Stark, in a nutshell. And honestly, like, it's nice to actually see that the MCU is going to be branching out and showing that there is more than just one super duper tech genius with unlimited resources out there in the world.
Right.
So that's pretty much it. I mean, I also like her because she's not just the guy in the chair.
Right.
You know,
not your Oracle.
Not your Oracle.
Or your Alfred, or
your Ned from Spider-Man Homecoming.
Right.
Who's, I know you haven't seen the movie, but long story short, is Peter's best friend. His only goal is to be the guy in the chair.
Right.
So at any rate, so that's pretty much my pick for Princess Suri. I mean, she actually designs high-tech weapons and knows how to use them and isn't afraid to use them either.
Right.
So.
That was one of the other things that I was trying to figure out in my list, was differentiating between, like, your Alfreds and your Robins, right? So, like, or even, like, your Oracles and your Batgirls, you know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to differentiate, I'm trying to, like, get a sense of, like, you know, help the superhero maintain, you know, the Fortress of Solitude, but then we'll also, like, hop in the fight throughout a lot of different superhero nomenclature right then. But, like, that was the other big thing. But I think Suri is a great all-encompassing kind of a pick, because, yeah, you're right. Like, she gets involved in, like, the plot of the main story. She gets involved in the fight against the bad guy, but she's also there, like, as a support to T'Challa, like, to get him, like, the best gear. And so she's kind of like a hybrid between, like, the dude in the chair and the sidekick. But good pick nonetheless.
She'd be a great Overwatch character.
Right. Yeah. Sure. I haven't played Overwatch, but I've seen some game footage.
Exactly. All right. Your pick?
So my first pick for the superhero sidekicks was, I went with Casey Jones.
Really, Casey? Wow, from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like the '90s one.
Yeah, Casey Jones.
All right, yeah. Go for it.
Because I always felt like Casey Jones is definitely not a superhero all unto himself, and Casey Jones always ended up, especially in the movies, and I think in one of them he ends up, like, helping out Splinter, so kind of pulls, like, a Winter Soldier thing. I think I want to say it's the third or fourth one. But yeah, he, like, altogether, like, Casey, like, one thing about, like, the superhero sidekicks is, like, never powerful enough to, like, take out the bad guy on their own, right? Usually just gets, like, straight up wrecked. And that's kind of Casey Jones. Like, Casey Jones, super great against, like, hordes of the Foot Clan, but like, put him up against, like, you know,
the Shredder.
Shredder. And yeah, he's pretty much useless. Like, you need the four Ninja Turtles in there. Also, a reason why he went very high on my list is because we don't have a lot of people who fight people in hockey pads.
But
yeah. So I definitely wanted to include him.
Yeah, okay.
I feel like, you know, his comic origins, I never read the comics. You know, his relevant usage, you know, he beats up ninjas. He's a love interest for April O'Neil, so that way it's not so weird that April O'Neil is in a love interest for a bunch of huge humanoid turtles.
Yeah.
Which is just weird.
Well, did you ever see the 2012 Nickelodeon 3D animated Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles show?
No.
Yeah, for the most part, it was actually really good. I'd recommend it. It's just there is kind of this one whole thing where Donatello's in love with April, and it is really weird.
Yeah, see, it is weird.
It is weird.
Yeah,
it's just weird because it's like
it's a little less weird, and it's weird. It's a little less weird when they're cartoons, but then, like, in the live action movies, you're like, oh yeah, this is not.
No, it's kind of like that sex scene in Howard the Duck.
Right. Yeah. And goddamn you for even remembering me that. But one thing I felt like what, like, separates me for, like, superhero movies, and one thing that I had that was, like, a ranking is that, would I watch a solo movie with this sidekick?
Mm-hmm.
Would I watch a Casey Jones solo movie? No. I don't care enough.
Right, exactly.
Like, he's better in small doses. I think he's one of those characters that's, like, he's fun and he's kitschy, but, like, nah.
Yeah.
I don't care what Casey Jones does.
No.
His real name is, like, Arnold Benedict or something. Is it really?
I don't know. I'm pretty sure it's Casey Jones. It just makes me think of the train driver, the train engineer.
Right. From the Grateful Dead.
Yeah, exactly. Who was an actual train driver, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
At any rate. I was going to say something about it. It's whatever. At any rate, so moving on to the next one on my list. Number 4, I'm going with Black Widow from Winter Soldier.
Okay.
Specifically in Winter Soldier, just because, if anything, well, the typical Black Widow reasons is she knows how to kick some ass, which is great. It's always great in those kind of movies in particular. But I'm putting her on this list because I feel it's in Winter Soldier is definitely when Black Widow started to get really interesting.
Yeah.
You know, like, I mean, sure, they kind of hinted at a few things, you know, like, oh, I've got red in my ledger in the first Avengers movie, but, you know, it didn't really do too much and everything like that. But this is the one where she actually started to feel a little bit more fleshed out
as a character.
Because what did she really do? I don't even remember what she did in Iron Man 2 besides that hallway fight scene.
She was a spy for S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
Keeping tabs on, which is such a misuse of Black Widow's skill set. I mean, I know we had to introduce her at some point, but like that felt like rookie agent assignment to me.
Right, exactly. And at this point,
it is Tony Stark. He is pretty high profile and has great security, so I guess you do need a really good spy.
Right,
so maybe not.
Maybe, yeah, maybe not.
Yeah, you could toss a coin.
But at any rate, she also shows in this one because at its core, Winter Soldier is really a spy thriller.
Mm-hmm.
And, her whole shtick has just been about being a spy assassin. And, I feel in any movie, this is really where it shines the most. So that's kind of why I'm going with it.
Nice. Yeah, good pick. I can see it.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have, again, this is one of those ones that's like, it's a really hard line between like supporting, like, is that a team up?
Yeah.
More than it is like, because I would totally welcome and be super excited for a Black Widow movie.
You see, my thing is actually, I wouldn't knock it. I would much rather see Black Widow get the Netflix treatment.
I don't think that would work for Black Widow.
It probably wouldn't, but why? I don't know. I think at least one of those characters needs to.
I feel like a Black Widow like supported by Hawkeye movie would be really good.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
And they're always like fun in comics too.
Exactly.
Like that whole like clandestine S.H.I.E.L.D. operations, like those are always like really fun stories. And like Winter Soldier had like a bunch of like Winter Soldier the comic.
Yeah.
Like did a lot with like Bucky Barnes and Natasha Romanoff as like a duo, which was like super fun. They were really, really good reads. I've got a bunch of them on the shelf. Cool. Good pick.
Yeah.
All right, so my number, where are we? 4. My number 4, I also went with a Marvel character, but I did not pick one from the MCU.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I picked Whistler from Blade 1 and 2.
Okay.
Whistler.
Mostly
just because of the way that Wesley Snipes says Whistler. And also because one thing that we are very much underrepresenting in our lists are country music stars. So Chris Christopherson, who did a whole duet album with Barbra Streisand back in the 70s, got to play what was kind of the half and half between like the dude in the chair and like the sidekick role, because he was like 20 years Blade senior,
right,
in the movies and in real life from Wesley Snipes.
Yeah.
But Whistler, made all the tech. Somehow kept everybody flush with silver. Don't ask me how they do it. I'm convinced that like all these superhero movies like rob bad guys when like the camera's not on them.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how else they afford their base of operations. Because they always have like, it's not like they're operating out of a 1-bedroom apartment. Like they have like huge old abandoned factories that they just have the run of town for. So
right, exactly.
Anyways, he kept that whole operation flush. Super inventive, came up with all sorts of devices and gadgets that exploded with mist and garlic and sunlight and all sorts of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So super relevant. In the first one, definitely more of a guy in the chair. In the second one, was way more involved in the action, going and like hunting down all the Reapers, and coming up with a plan to kill them all. But I mean, at the end of the day, would I watch a Whistler movie? No, God, no, absolutely not. That he's a great character paired up with Blade, but he's just an angry old white dude killing vampires. So
right,
I'm good.
Yeah, exactly.
we have enough of those movies.
At this point, yeah, we do.
Between the Underworlds and the Van Helsings and the Blades and
you want to say it.
What?
You want to say it.
What?
Twilight.
Oh yeah. Do angry old white dudes kill vampires in Twilight?
No, but they should.
Oh yeah. They should.
They should.
Actually, okay, so I take it back. I would watch a Chris Christopherson versus the Twilight vampires movie. I would watch that.
Okay.
Only because the Guillermo del Toro Blade 2 was just so violent and gory. Just watching a bunch of the Twilight vampires like burst into explosions because they got filled with anticoagulant.
Right.
Would just be super satisfying.
Right. All right, so shall we move on?
Yeah, let's move on.
Okay, this one is an interesting one, and I'm going to explain it to you because this one actually it's a two-parter, and there's actually a very specific reason for it. I'm going with both Kick-Ass and Hit Girl from the first Kick-Ass movie.
Wait, you're going with both Kick-Ass and Hit Girl?
Let me explain.
Okay, I can see Hit Girl. The name of the book and movie is Kick-Ass.
I know, but you and I both know what the real joke is.
Yeah.
It's that Hit Girl does all the real superheroing.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's, especially in that movie, in fact, by the end of it, it ends up being her story. By the third act, it becomes her story because she's the one that wants revenge for the bad guy killing her father and mother and all that good fun stuff. So basically, that's kind of what I'm saying. Like Hit Girl starts off as a sidekick, but she has like way better training, and she does like all the ninja stuff and everything like that, and all the cussing and all the awesome. And then what does Kick-Ass do? He just kind of like sits there and like nerds out and pees his pants every once in a while.
Yeah.
I get it; it's his story, but that's kind of why like it's a weird thing. Like, it's just really one of those things where like I like both characters, but who is really the sidekick? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's why I had to include him, because I like both characters. I mean, push comes to shove, I'm going to go with Hit Girl as the actual official sidekick, because
Yeah, I would go with Hit Girl as the official sidekick.
as the official sidekick.
I was super annoyed by both that movie and that book.
Hmm?
I don't know. That wasn't my cup of tea.
I like the movie.
Yeah, I didn't like the movie. I didn't love it. I love Mark Millar.
Mm-hmm.
And like huge fan of the work, and I really wanted to like it. And I even remember I was buying all the issues as they were coming out, whenever it was, like 2009 or something like that, somewhere in that range. And yeah, I just couldn't get into it.
It's a little hyper violent.
The hyper violence doesn't bother me. I think it was just like the mopiness, like inside of like the superhero thing. You know, like it's just one of those things that we've talked about this before. Is that I have a really hard time like empathizing with superheroes. He's like, nah, I don't care, Thor. You know? Like, I'm sorry your hammer broke and you got your hair cut, but
I got bills to pay.
Yeah, you're the god of thunder, and like exactly. Like my credit card interest rate just went up, so
exactly.
like I don't really care.
Yeah, but yeah, that's definitely what I'm going to say. Is by the end of it though, it's Hit Girl is definitely would be the sidekick, but the main reason why she's on this list is because she kicks some serious ass.
That's fair.
So that's pretty much. She was the highlight of the movie. I know you said you didn't like it, just said that, but there's no denying it. She was the highlight of the movie.
Yeah, she was. Yeah, she was. Definitely, I agree with that.
Yep.
All right, so my number 3.
Yep.
Okay, my number 3. I went in another different direction out of the MCU or DCEU.
Mm-hmm.
DCEU?
Yeah, DCEU.
So I went with Abe Sapien from Hellboy. The fish dude.
The fish dude?
The
Okay.
fish dude. The dude who just won an Oscar.
Okay.
For The Shape of Water.
Nice.
Yeah, it wasn't him. It kind of wasn't him. It was pretty much him. It was him. So, I'm a huge fan of Hellboy and the Hellboy movies. I'm a huge Guillermo del Toro fan, and those were just great.
Mm-hmm.
As far as his comic origins, they were pretty much spot on because we didn't know a lot about the comic origins of Abe Sapien until later on in BPRD and Abe Sapien stories. The fun thing about Abe Sapien as like a sidekick was that he was kind of your quintessential sidekick in so many ways, that he was like super knowledgeable behind the scenes, like working it, and then like would get into the fight, but he was also kind of super wimpy at the same time, and like not really apt at being a great fighter. But like we still managed to like get the job done with like the right proper motivation. Like when it needed to get done, like he stepped up. And just overall, he's just a weird fish guy.
Right.
With the only superpower he has is that he can breathe underwater and he can read minds when touching stuff. Just kind of a weird dude. Definitely something interested. And definitely, I think on like my list, the only thing that felt like a true sidekick that wasn't just an abysmal adaptation of something. You know what I mean? Like it was a good movie that actually had like a good sidekick to it.
Right.
So would I watch a solo Abe Sapien movie? He got one, and he got an Oscar. And although I wasn't a big fan of the movie,
he won an Oscar, so
I did watch it.
Yeah. Okay.
I wasn't a huge fan, but
all right.
He's all right. He's also, I think, in his origin story, like it revealed in the comic that he's like a ship captain from Rhode Island. So I'm a little proud of that.
All right. Cool. All right. Moving on. I'm gonna go with War Machine.
Okay.
More specifically for Civil War, but a little bit of like Iron Man 2 is peppered in there, and 3, and like all the other ones as well.
Mm-hmm.
But it's mainly just because I'm sticking with Civil War, because I feel like this is the movie where Rhodey really does more of the actual superheroing stuff in this one.
In Civil War?
In Civil War specifically.
Yeah.
It's also just mainly because, you know what, as weird as it is, I like the ending with him and Tony as he's like rehabbing, and he just basically says...
That's sad.
What? No. What I'm trying to get at though is like I like the fact that he said like if I could do it all over again, knowing that this would happen, I'd probably still do it.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm just simply trying to say is that level of the big thing you want in a sidekick is obviously loyalty, and that's clearly a whole bunch of loyalty he has to Tony. So that's kind of why that's pretty much the main reason I'm putting him in there. I mean, he seemed to have a sense of humor about everything too afterwards. But if my best friend is one of the richest, most tech genius people on the planet who could pretty much build me new legs, I'd probably get over it quickly too.
Yeah,
or more, or quicker. I guess you could say.
I guess it wasn't really his fault. It was kind of his fault.
It was kind of. I mean, he knew what he did, but I mean, like,
and he knew what he was getting into.
Yeah, but I mean, it also just kind of shows one of those things where the reason why I like the movie better than the book when it comes to Civil War is because for both cases I couldn't pick a side, but in the book I couldn't pick a side because I didn't necessarily agree with either Cap or Iron Man.
Really? I was so solidly Team Cap.
Well, push comes to shove, yeah, I'd be Team Cap, but I didn't like the way he handled it. It was a very out of character story for Captain America, I feel.
I mean, it was and it wasn't. I think that he got pushed to an edge.
I mean, he threw the first punch, really.
Yeah, but
I mean, at the end
he doesn't want to punch Tony Stark in the face.
True, that is very true. Punch him in his perfect teeth.
Right.
But with the movie, I had a harder time picking because I actually agreed with both of them. Or at least I could see both. I had a better view of both sides of the argument.
Mm.
So I thought they were both more justified. So that's kind of why I'm going with that one.
I would have words with thee.
Exactly.
That is the most badass line that Thor ever said.
All right.
Oh, man. Okay, so my number 2. Is that where we're at?
Mm-hmm.
We're at the number 2s. So my number 2, I went with Bucky Barnes.
Okay.
Bucky Barnes. I just thought that he was, especially in the first movie, like great supporting character to get the hero to where he needed to be. Always kind of like pushing the proper motivation for Cap to be better than Cap could. And then, I like to see the downfall of heroes. And he definitely, we definitely got that with Winter Soldier and then come back up in Civil War and then, like, go back down.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious to see, and I might update this list, because I was between Bucky Barnes and Sam Wilson on this, because I feel like Sam Wilson epitomizes, like, I feel it's unfair to call Sam Wilson a sidekick to Captain America, because I feel like Sam Wilson in so many ways is, like, great as his own hero.
Right.
But Bucky
as far as these movies are concerned, though, I'd say
Bucky Barnes doesn't feel like... I mean, we'll see what happens after the next Avengers movie with Bucky and with Sam and, Cap. And
who gets to wear the shield.
Who gets to wear the shield and all that. But I just felt like I was doing a disservice, like, putting Sam Wilson in, like, that, sidekick role. Where Bucky Barnes, I mean, classically and traditionally is Captain America's sidekick. And I think that if you are going down a sidekick, one that has crazy, super secret Russian stealth training and an adamantium arm. Is it adamantium or vibranium?
I don't know what it is. I think in the MCU...
Is it carbonite?
I think in the MCU it wouldn't be vibranium. It couldn't be vibranium in the MCU because they didn't have the rights to it at the time, so... I mean, not adamantium.
Yeah. Could be
vibranium or...
Carbonadium.
Or some other made-up metal.
Yeah, that was the one that Omega Red had the tentacles made out of. It was
right.
Carbonadium. I'd say it's probably that, if I were to wager a bet.
Maybe, I don't know.
I'd have to take a look. But yeah, and would I watch a solo Bucky Barnes movie? Kind of got one.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, between Winter Soldier and Civil War, you could definitely you could make the case that that's really more Bucky's story than Cap's story. But
right.
Winter Soldier in particular.
Right. So before we do our number 1, let's do the honorable mentions real quick.
Okay, honorable mentions for best sidekick.
Mm-hmm.
Bruce Lee. Jean-Claude Van Damme. Chuck Norris. All have great sidekicks.
They're all Bruce Lee?
What?
They're all Bruce Lee.
No. They just all have great sidekicks.
That's fuck you.
This whole podcast has been a setup for me to make that one really lame joke.
All right, podcast is over, guys. See you later.
You'll never know the number 1 because Kyle killed Dan. No, stop.
No, but for real, do you have any honorable mentions, or are you all, or was that it?
No. Well, okay, so actually, like Bruce Lee as like Kato and the Green Hornet. I mean, that's a great sidekick.
Yeah, but that was a TV show, not a movie. So doesn't count.
Okay, well then I don't remember the Seth Rogen one because that movie was fucking stupid.
Right. Well, for my honorable mention, I was actually going to go with X-23 of Logan.
Sidekick, not protege, huh? Okay.
What kind of toted the line there? I mean...
You know what I always wished? I always wish that Logan threw her, like the fastball special.
Well, didn't we kind of sort of get a fastball special on X3?
Yes.
But not really?
With Storm.
With Storm?
Was it Storm or was it Cyclops?
I thought it was Colossus that actually threw him.
It was Colossus that threw him.
Yeah, except for it doesn't really work because what was it in the comic books? Colossus is like 7'2", and has like a size 45 glove.
Right.
And Logan is
pretty much fits in the palm of his hand.
Logan literally fits in the palm of Colossus's hand because Logan's like 5'2".
Yeah, he's 5'4".
tiny.
He's like 5'3", 5'4".
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so
he's like way shorter than me.
Just like kaboom.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of the only one I was going to go to, and maybe Ned from Spider-Man: Homecoming, just because of the whole concept of I don't want to be the superhero, I just want to be the guy in the chair. I thought was funny.
It was funny.
It was pretty lame, but kind of funny.
Yeah.
All right. So we doing number one now?
Sure. After you.
It's funny that you mention it because I was actually going to go with Sam Wilson.
Really?
As my number one.
Okay. Yeah.
And a little bit of Captain America: Winter Soldier, but he didn't have as big a role in it, so I'm going to go more with Civil War because, again, he kind of sort of did like a really good job with the whole backing Captain America up the whole way.
Mm.
It's actually really more or less the same reasons as why I picked Rhodey at my number 2.
Right.
So it was kind of a tough one to split hair with, but this one came down to a personal decision. I was Team Cap for that movie.
Right.
So that's kind of why Sam got the win for that one.
Yeah.
So that was really my big reason. It's just because, just his dedication to the cause is more than enough. And on top of that, too, like, he proves himself as a pretty good tactician. He proves himself to be, just as smart as any of the other guys on there when it comes to the battlefield and everything like that. So that's pretty much it.
Fair.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good pick.
Mm-hmm.
So my number one, I went with Robin. Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Nah, I'm fucking with you. I went with Chris O'Donnell.
I
Robin.
hate you
Batman
so
forever.
much. I hate you so much.
It's the classic sidekick. It like represented in a movie. Like, yeah, okay, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, like, turns out his real name was Robin, and like
I hated that.
I know, I hated that too. And he had they pretty much like took all three of like the Robin's backstory and like threw them in a pot, and then like
whatever
you were just
came
like
out.
cherry picking out of a beef stew. You were like, nah, I don't want carrots or celery. I'm just gonna take the potatoes and the meat. And they just like that was like the only thing they screwed at. Like, he's an orphan. He figured out who Batman was, and his name is Robin. And like that was it. Like that's what you got out of it. You know what I mean? They're like, well, what about all the other shit? They're like, nah, fuck that, doesn't matter. Like, no, it does matter. They're like, no, it doesn't matter. I mean, it kind of doesn't make sense in that world to have a Robin, but
The funny thing is, too, out of all the Robins I know of, not a single one of them, their real name was Robin.
I know some Robins.
No, like the actual Robin.
Oh yeah, no, none of them. No, none of them were Robin because that's a dumb name.
Yeah.
I mean,
Why would you have your superhero name be your actual name too?
Right, exactly.
That'd be like, I'm gonna go off and fight crime as Kyle. I am the Kyle.
Stay tuned next week to find out what happens to the Kyle.
Exactly.
No,
Same Kyle time.
Listen.
Same Kyle channel.
Chris O'Donnell had everything that you needed in a classic superhero story arc and condensed into the mythos of the sidekick, right? Parallels with Batman, want for revenge, got his own suit, stole the Batmobile.
Yeah, it's just, I think part of my issue with it is just, if we're going to go with the whole comic book origin thing, it's because he was supposed to be Dick Grayson. He acted way more like a Jason Todd.
Yeah, you know, the only thing that I always had a really hard time with in that movie, which always made it a little weird, was that in the original precipice of the comic book is that, Dick Grayson is like, he's like a little kid. He's like 10, and his parents get murdered, and he has nobody. And then Bruce Wayne, like, adopts him. And then you're like, oh, that's, like, really altruistic and, like, really nice. Because he sees in Dick Grayson exactly what happened to him when he was that age.
Right,
and,
he
like,
doesn't want it to happen.
He doesn't want it to happen to him, so he takes him in and, like, fosters him and, like, mentors him and, like, teaches him how to, like, right from wrong. What's weird about the Chris O'Donnell one is that Val Kilmer adopts a full-grown man.
Yeah, he was... good luck trying to convince me that he's not at least
17,
which it's like...
No. He's a full-grown man.
No, that's what I mean.
No. He's a full-grown man.
I'm being very
like,
facetious.
you can't even, like, bullshit around, like the dude
like,
needs a razor.
He can buy alcohol.
The dude needs a razor in, like, every scene that they show of him. So, like, as far as getting around the whole, like, Batman and Robin, like, are they, aren't they? Like, that movie doesn't do a good job of
the
convincing...
ambiguously gay duo.
That movie doesn't do a good job of deterring that argument from anyone. You're like, no, I'm pretty sure he just adopted a full-grown man that wears circus tights. Like, that's exactly what just happened. And, it was weird. But, still, as far as, like, your classic fit inside the box parameters of superhero sidekick in a movie, that's it. That's the number one. You can make arguments for everyone else, but it's like, is that a team-up? Is that a partnership? No, bullshit. Chris O'Donnell, Robin, straight up sidekick. Batman and Robin. It's the name of the second one. And if you don't like that one, then you can chill.
All right, we're done, everybody. So
flip table, walk away. I'm out.
God damn it, Dan! We're shutting the podcast down. It's over. Dan ruined it.
This was fun. It's no longer fun.
No, this is no longer fun.
Whatever. Fight me.
So yeah, that's gonna do it for us.
1v1 me.
1v1 me. PvP me. I mean, like, fine, I guess, but I mean, like, you're not really in this... I don't think you're in the same server as me, so, I mean...
GG, no re.
So, yeah, I think that's going to do it for our list. I think this is actually the first time where one of us can look at the other and say, I totally disagree with your number one choice.
Yeah, I totally disagree with your number one choice. I kind of went through all my reasons why, but yeah, that's fine. Yeah, my choice is right, so I don't care.
All right, fine, Dan, fine.
You know what we should do next time? Maybe comic book video game adaptations.
Ooh. Maybe. I don't know if I've played enough of them, but I've definitely played enough of them. So
I mean, yeah, like I was going to say, like I haven't played every single one of them that's ever came out.
Just the ones that we've played.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I think the new Spider-Man game is coming out soon, right? So
yeah, I can't play it.
PlayStation? Ha!
I'm actually thinking about buying a PlayStation 4 at some point.
Meh.
You know, after like a year or so when the PlayStation 4 Pro drops in like $200.
Yeah, we can play some Dark Souls.
Yeah. Or maybe the video game companies can finally start lifting their ban on multi-platform games with cross-platform playing.
I wouldn't hold your breath.
I will.
And until next time.
Right.
Find out what happens next episode to the Kyle.
Will Kyle get what he wants? Can he finally play Dan in Mortal Kombat?
Will he keep holding his breath?
Or will he just die? And why does he look so clammy all of a sudden?
Find out next time on The Kyle.
Oh, man. All right. Actually, before we get going, there's something that I feel like we should talk about real quick because we like to talk about them every once in a while. Did you see the new trailer for Solo?
Yes.
You know what? I'm going to be honest with you. I wasn't that excited for this project right from the get-go, but I'll admit that was a good trailer.
Yeah.
That was actually a really good trailer.
I saw a great Onion article headline that was, new Solo trailer gives fans everywhere hope as it shows exactly why a movie will suck.
So it's kind of like, yeah, we don't need to get our expectations up.
And the best tweet that I saw from it is that if Chewie is over 400 years old, then Han is really like Chewie's third dog.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and that follow-up, Han would have lived longer if he got Chewie neutered.
I saw that one.
Or Chewie would have lived
longer if he got Chewie. If he got
whatever.
Whatever. Han needed to get neutered. That's
Han needed to get neutered. That's the joke.
Yeah.
I fucked up, but yeah, that's the joke.
Yeah.
No, I've always had hope for this project, and you've been like vehemently opposed to it.
It's just because I don't feel like it was necessary. You know what I want?
There's lots of things that aren't necessary, Kyle. I didn't really need 6 Avengers movies, but boy, oh boy, am I glad I'm getting them. Like, I'm counting Captain Civil War because that's a fucking Avengers movie. I don't give a shit.
Pretty much is.
Yeah,
right?
It's not pretty much is. It goddamn is. Like, that's Avengers 2.5.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, and this is Avengers, like, 2.75, and then Avengers 3 will come out eventually. But, like, yeah, we're getting 6 of them. I didn't need that, but you know what? We're gonna start
getting movies that require expansion packs.
Right, and, like, you know what? We got a Solo movie, and we've had Spider-Man rebooted 3 times. So, you know what? Fuck it.
I'm just saying, based on the things I was reading last year, it didn't seem like it was going to be... It looked like it was going through production hell, so that's part of the reason.
I feel like all movies do at some point.
Though last week I did have my friend Chris Dunham on, and we talked about Star Wars, and the the one thing that we both actually kind of would like to see is a bounty hunter movie.
Like a Boba Fett movie or a bounty hunter movie?
Boba Fett would be a movie that's all about the bounty hunters of Star Wars. It's just obviously Boba Fett has to play a major role in it.
Right. Bossick.
Like Boss Gags, IG-88.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
that'd be cool. Yeah, that'd be cool. I would watch that.
Maybe.
I also feel like I always wanted like a Clone Wars movie, like Clone Trooper. Not Clone Wars, but we got the Clone
Rex,
Wars.
a Star Wars story.
Yeah.
You know what?
Exactly.
I would see that goddamn movie.
Yeah, absolutely. We all would. Fives.
Or you know what? Tano. I'd want an Ahsoka Tano
I feel
movie.
like she gets enough out of Rebels and the Clone Wars that I've never felt like wanting for that. I will say one thing about like the Clone Wars and Rebels is that it gave a lot more context and it tempered my hate for the second and third Star Wars movies. I mean, but you got to put a lot of interest into that fandom. But you understand a lot more of the motivations like between movies of like all the characters, and it makes a lot more sense why Anakin went to the dark side.
Yeah.
The way he did, if you've seen the Clone Wars.
Yeah, the cartoon series. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes a lot more sense. It definitely gives more context than his wife got pregnant and the Jedi are lying.
Yeah.
Which is thin at best.
I didn't even think. Yeah. I thought it was really just because they didn't put me on the council.
Okay, yeah, it was that, and it was that, you know, Padme got pregnant, and he had a dream that she was going to die in childbirth, which was a self-fulfilling prophecy anyways. But,
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, and, you know, Padme just died because she was sad.
You know what? I'm saying it right here, right now. I don't know if I've said it on this podcast before, but yeah, I'm making it official right now. I do not think Jar Jar Binks is the worst character in Star Wars history. Most annoying character, yes. I will agree with you on that. But I'm going with Padme as the worst character in Star Wars history.
Because she's like super 2D?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, she's super face value. I mean, Anakin's not much better.
No, Anakin's not much better.
And like I said, like the context of the Clone Wars like helps a little bit. But at the end of the day, like, there is nothing complex about Anakin. He's a petulant child.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, he
also,
didn't get what he wanted, so he lashed out.
Exactly. And
that's it.
It's also just, the more you watch that series, the more you're just kind of like, how did they not pick up on the fact that this guy was going to be a punk? Like,
and it's also one thing about watching the Clone Wars is that you think about, like, how did they not realize that Palpatine was the bad guy?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I remember when I watched, like, The Phantom Menace when I was 10, and I saw Senator Palpatine for the first time. My 10-year-old self went, that dude's a bad guy.
Yeah.
I was 10.
Right, exactly. I'm not supposed to figure these things out that quickly.
I was not supposed to figure that out. I don't even think that was, like, a popular theory at that time when that movie came out, like, that was the Emperor. But I saw that dude right away, and I was like, that's the Emperor. People were like, what?
Well,
no.
I mean, I think the diehard fans knew because the Emperor's real name was Palpatine, too, so...
Right.
You can put two and two together, but I'm with you, 10 years old, didn't know that this whole expanded universe thing actually existed,
right.
So... In fact, if anything, I didn't know his last name was Emperor. His last name was Palpatine. I just knew him as the Emperor.
Yeah, he was the Emperor, like Darth Sidious.
Yeah, I didn't even know him as Darth Sidious.
Yeah, I think Darth Sidious got like retconned and reintroduced at some point, probably in like the first or second movie.
Yeah,
I think it was the first. I think it was like Darth Maul called him Darth Sidious.
Yeah, either way, the point I'm trying to get at though is like,
I'm excited for and I get the point you're trying to make. I'm excited for independent Star Wars movies that don't have fuck all to do with the Jedis.
I'm excited for those, but I am also looking forward to Rian Johnson's new trilogy where it's not going to be about the...
Kardashians?
Yeah, the Kardashians of space.
Yeah.
Which is what the Skywalkers really are. They're just the Kardashians of space.
The Sky Kardashians.
The Sky Kardashians. Who would be the Sky Kanyes?
I guess the Solos?
Yeah, it's probably the best bet. Yeah,
Actually, yeah. The Solos would. I mean, let's see if you know if Northwest betrays Kanye West and it takes over as a record producer and usurps his power. Then that would be.
I am the genius that made you. Come on, gay fish, we can't do this.
I guess that. Yeah, I guess so. But yeah, I'm excited for. I mean, it looks like the Solo movie is going to be like a bank heist Star Wars movie.
So,
which sounds dope. Like, doesn't that sound cool?
Didn't we kind of get that with Rogue One though? Wasn't Rogue One kind of a bank heist movie?
I mean, yeah, but it's better than we have to go steal the plans to blow up the big spaceship, which has been 3 out of the last 9 Star Wars movies.
True. This is very true.
Wait, 1, 2, 3.
And Rogue One.
Didn't they blow up a big spaceship in Phantom Menace? Yeah.
Yeah, they did. It wasn't
the blockade.
It wasn't. Yeah, but it wasn't like. I wouldn't go. It wasn't Death Star big though. That's the thing.
We had a Skywalker flying a starfighter and blew up a spaceship.
Yeah.
That was round.
I'll give it to you.
Yeah,
Fine.
we're 4 out of 9 on that idea. So yeah, okay, we can be 2 out of 11 on.
No big kaboomy boom spaceships.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they're gonna blow up a spaceship anyways, and I'm sure someone's gonna go kyber crystals.
I'm putting money on a Star Destroyer gets blown up.
Oh yeah, Star Destroyer is definitely gonna get blown up.
Because they get blown up in every movie.
Oh yeah.
They're like the worst aircraft carriers.
Oh, they are just made out of cardboard.
Exactly.
The front fell off.
All right. Okay. Yeah, that's gonna do it for us. That's our list, and so Dan is way more excited to see Solo now. I am slightly more excited to see Solo now.
Solo's gonna be great.
It better be, because I know
I'm not gonna say great. Solo's gonna be enjoyable. I'm going to enjoy.
That's all I want.
I'm going to enjoy Solo the same way that I enjoyed Star Wars: The Last Jedi, in which that somewhere deep down inside of me lives a 12-year-old that's just really excited to see new Star Wars movie and could give a fuck what they're actually about.
Exactly.
Because at the end of the day, I'm here for space battles.
I'm just here for the space battles and the lightsabers.
I'm here for the space battles.
I like the lightsabers.
Well, yeah, I like the lightsabers too, but I just don't want everything to involve like the friggin' Kardashians of space.
Right.
Like,
fair enough. Fair enough.
Like
Fair
enough.
All right. That's gonna do it for us. All right, Dan. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
Nah, I'm good.
All right, we're all set here, everybody. You know the usual drill. Kyle Daley Comedy on Instagram and on Twitter. I'm Kyle Daley 1987. Follow me, and we're also on the daily chat for both Twitter and Facebook. Later, everybody. Thanks for being here, Dan.
Bye.
Bye.